Hello everyone and welcome to Cappuccino with HR. My name is Rudi Bauer and after 40 years in business I'm 100% sure that the success of companies is directly related to the passion of the people working for these companies. With the Cappuccino of HR we created a format where we really invite people, it's HR leaders, it's recruiters, it's talent acquisition guys, and we're talking about all the different kind of topics, and the range is going from AI of course to new work, to leadership, and all the challenges along the way. Yeah, hello and welcome to another episode of Cappuccino with HR. And today I'm really happy and proud that I have Birte and Cathrin from Deloitte with us. And we are talking about really interesting stuff. There's a lot of terms that I really like. I learned one at our HR Leader Summit in Berlin in July, which was Stagility. We are talking about that a little bit later. And before we start, I really want to ask you to introduce yourself. So probably Birte and Cathrin, let's start in the order of the alphabet. So Birte, probably you first.
Yes, sure. And thanks for having us in this round today. So I'm Birte. I'm manager at Deloitte for organization and work transformation. And I'm really passionate about shaping the future of work. And as a consultant, I support complex HR transformation and explore how organizations can attract and retain the right talent with the right skills and for really the roles that matter most. And my mission is to put people in the heart of transformation processes and really put and understand them as a key driver of business success and really see how organizations grow and scale successfully with the right talent.
Okay, thank you for that. Cathrin?
Also from my side, thanks for having me here. So I'm working as a director at Deloitte, and I could maybe summarize shortly, my passion are the people. My passion are the people since my studies of economics, where I learned on what the human can make for the success of companies. And that's what I'm advising since 17 years. This is where I'm convinced of that the human always needs to be in the center of the success of the companies and of the organizations. And therefore, my expertise lies on one hand in the question of how does an HR department make an impact that matters, but also how can the workforce be shaped in a way that it makes an impact that matters for the company's success. And all of this brings me then also to be a team member together with Birte in the org and work transformation team and as well in the human capital area.
Thank you. I ask this every one of my guests because it's called Cappuccino with HR, so I have to ask this. Birte and Cathrin, what's your favorite coffee?
Yeah, so I like the question very much. So I would say it's a classic filtered coffee with milk. So really simple, but perfect for me to get on focus mode, let's say. But when I have a little free time to slow down and enjoy the moment, it's cappuccino. So it's a perfect match for your podcast, I would say.
Wonderful. We picked and chosen the right name for you. Cathrin?
Cappuccino was my favorite for years. And then from one day to the other, I changed it to black coffee. And that's what I'm really drinking every day, not just once, but rather 3 times a day to really have a good Americano. That's what I really like.
Really cool. Now let's step in. And we had a panel discussion at the HR Leader Summit in Berlin together with Zalando. And Birte, I want just to ask you, how did you enjoy the conference and what was your biggest takeaway from the 2 days?
It was awesome. And thanks for having me there. So I really like the combination of HR, experts and tech talents and the combination and bringing both expertise on one table. I think this is the most benefit of the conference. Is I really like the exchange with both and understand how HR can really attract the tech talents and what needs to be done to attract and retain them on a long term.
Thank you. I want to start with kind of a question as you're doing this kind of human capital trends report every year, and I think it's a really massive. I was looking into it, and there's some really cool insights in that report. And Birte Cathrin, probably you can answer the question. As you have 17 years in the business now and working for Deloitte for quite a long time, What has changed during this period of time? If you really recap it a little bit, what do you think was the most massive changes in the way how we work, and what will probably be the upcoming changes for the next couple of years from your point of view?
So Deloitte is running this survey for the last 15 years on an annual basis. And it's basically the biggest survey on people challenges and people topics in the economy worldwide. So what changed, I would say, is that at the beginning we had far less people that answered our questions than today. Today, and this year is specifically, we have almost 10,000 survey respondents. But I think it's what also changed is when we are doing the research, it's not just a questionnaire anymore. We are really kind of entering discussions with the clients, but also doing our own research on different platforms. Having said this, when we started and when we had the first surveys, they've been rather on topics like which processes are important for you, which topics are important for you. And I think it was in 2020 when the 10th survey results kind of arrived on our desk. We laid back and said, well, what really changed the last 10 years? So what is it, what we can see in this progress? And what we observed at this point was that there have been three huge paradoxes in the market. That there has been kind of this, we are digitalizing for a long while now, but still we're not getting the benefits out of it. And what's the reason for it? And I think those three paradoxes are also reflected still in the trends today. So on one hand, it's a question on how do we get perspective? So on one hand, everything is changing, but we as humans, we need a perspective to be kind of a good employee. The second is then also the question on skills are changing on every day's level when we see what are the developments in the market. And how can we use the potential which we still have, although some of the skills might be outdated, because there is potential in every human that we have. The question is it used in the right way? And then the third one was that we are kind of ourselves often researchers. We want to reinvent things, but we also want to have stability. And I think today we call it now stagility, but at this point it was a question on how can we really drive purpose? It was during also the COVID crisis when we identified that. And I think one of the main themes behind that was to say, why are we doing things? We can all reflect it ourselves. Are we doing things if we don't know why we are doing them in private or in jobs? No, we are not. And this is what we observe has been kind of a huge turning point also with COVID at this time to refocus a little bit on the human, to really put the human in the center as a partner for the technology that we see in the world, and to not just implement technology, but rather really tailor it to the needs of the humans so that we can be productive. I think another turning point has been in those trends last year and this year, a little bit kind of overlapping the question on what is human performance in a digitalized world. And we see many companies that are tackling the performance topic in a way that it's a process which is on a yearly basis, but this is not really showing how we as humans can be performing. And that's something which we are also kind of researching in and identifying more relevant aspects in to say, like, how can we make ourselves as humans performing again?
Birte, have you found something in the report that surprised you this year?
Yeah, definitely. So what really surprised me is the finding that how much actually we are working non-essential and draining organizational capacity, right? I think, in fact, it's more than 40% of workers' time is spent on tasks that don't contribute to organizational values. And I mean, these are more than 3 hours per day. And I suppose like, okay, wow, that's really too much time. And despite the rise of productivity tools and AI, many organizations are still overwhelmed by too many meetings and outdated processes. And Yeah, and what challenged my expectation was the low progress in addressing this issue. Only 8% of organizations say they're making great progress on that, freeing up workers' capacity. And I think this is really crucial, freeing up workers' capacity. It's about not doing less, so be clear on that. It's about making space for what matters most. So I like the concept of Slack, and it's more to create Slack to enable innovation, to enable creativity, resilience, of course, and time for learning and development.
But a question to both of you: why is this the case? I mean, we all think we are productive. I think we all think that AI will increase our productivity. All the studies that I know so far is that nearly no company has reached a level that AI increases productivity. I mean, it's playing around with it. It's probably taking some extra time. But what do you think is needed to because for me, it's sometimes I have a little bit the impression that there's so many tools on the market, there's so many solutions on the market, but before you don't know exactly your problem within an organization, it doesn't really make sense to look for tools. So is it the case that we don't even know the problem exactly, and we are already started to find some tools, and that is probably lowering our productivity? Could that be the case? I mean, that's my impression, but I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think there are several layers. Just putting it on the opportunities and the technology most likely is a little bit too short in the argumentation. I think there are so many dynamics in the market at this moment, be it kind of global economics, be it regionalism, be it also the technology there. And I think we as humans, we see so many things that are kind of distracting us from just focusing on it. That's one of the, I'm assuming, biggest challenges that we see. It's an uncertainty where we are also discussing it a lot with our colleagues on how we would handle it. And that's partially also time of Slack, to be honest, to kind of really get it on what is the problem. With all of that, we also have so many information in the world that it's hard to really kind of digest which one is the most important one. Formerly, when no emails have been kind of on a daily level, I think no one received more than 100 letters a day that need to be answered on short notice. And then beside that, a WhatsApp message, beside that, then a Teams message, then we have the Google Meet or whatever it is as tools. And I think there are so many informations which are challenging our brain in a way that it's hard to really actively listen to our counterparts. So a lot of information thereby is then lost in translation, so to say. And those two together and the opportunities behind that really harm people to focus on what really matters and to really be present at this moment. And I think on a human level in job life, but also just generally, we have to come back to really focus and listen to what is relevant in this moment and not already thinking about our next meeting, our next, I don't know, excitement, our next vacation, the shopping, which we do in parallel on the app even. So all of this is kind of a question of refocusing to really come back to this performance, to limit this lag. And also something which is an important trend is around leaders. Leaders also get all of those information more. And the question is it translated already in focusing on leading the people to focus? I'm not seeing that yet to a broad extent in the market.
Does that mean, I mean, if you're talking about stagility as a term, does that mean that what you described is the kind of leading with stability part? Because that's the stabilization of getting it on a stable layer. And then you have the HR part later on, which means stay flexible. Have I understood it right? Is it more the stability that we have lost? I mean, this kind of getting it right in a sense of we know what to focus on, we know what's important, leading by having a clear vision, leading by having a clear setup for the team and the people in the team to really give them this kind of chance to really focus on the right things at the right time?
I think focus is addressing both stability and agility.
Yep.
And I think it's addressing on one hand that it gives me stability if I'm really listening to it, but still if I'm listening, it can require that I'm agile. And I think the trend of Stagility, and maybe Birte, you can outline even more on that, is to say like what we have to lead or where we have to manage ourselves is to balance the stability, so the stability and the agility. It will, we as humans, we love stability, at least most of the humans, so to say. But the world is so dynamic that we need to have this agile muscle. And I think to bring that together and to know where in agile times I'm still kind of have my stability with my potential or with my perspective or with a purpose behind. That's basically what Stagility is explaining. But Birte, over to you as well.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe to add on that. So the question is how we can ensure stability in practice. So what stability means in practice. And it's creating, as Cathrin already mentioned, new anchors for workers, right? It's concentrating on purpose, team identity, also flexible career paths. So this is a focus one. But also designing work around outcomes and not only on rigid tasks, I would say. And yeah, focus on fluid teams, network instead of static hierarchies. And I think for me, the main is to understanding workers as whole individuals with skills, motivations, their passions, and not just job titles. And by bringing that into practice, we ensure both stability and agility on the other hand.
But doesn't it mean, I mean, it's just a question that raised in my head now. I mean, doesn't it mean that you need a kind of really adult employees as well? Because, I mean, for me, this also means that if I'm at work and I'm really focusing on the outcome there. So that also would mean for me, okay, the mobile phone with this with the purchasing app or with Amazon is somewhere probably in the drawer and not on my desk, because I mean it needs discipline from both sides to run it right?
It needs discipline, yes, but it also needs to get used to uncertainty.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if with kind of the black and white or the clear borders that we draw in our life, we will beat that, because that always brings us into conflict. What is more urgent? What is more important? I'm with you with a statement to say like we need some really reflecting humans to see what matters and how they can navigate through. There are examples where I think the border would not help. So, for example, you have a lot of women working part-time, but also full-time, but still they have their children, right? And if you would tell all of them you have to stop at 3, they can maybe not end their task, but they want to, and they have the motivation to really make that impact. But it's kind of, at this moment, they have to stop because the children are in front of you. Would you stop them to kind of write this email at 9 o'clock in the night again, so that they can bring their children to the kindergarten in the next morning and come a little bit later? No, I wouldn't. But it's up to the employees to manage a little bit their balance and how they bring it together. Because work-life balance is not a time question. It's a very individual question on how you translate it into your reflections.
But for leadership, what does that mean for leaders? I mean, if you want to lead a team now, you really have to, I mean, you have to deep dive, honestly, you have to deep dive in every single person within your team, because, I mean, I think everybody needs other treatments, everybody has another situation, everybody, is that what we need to do as leaders? How do you see it? Or what is the results coming out of a report? I mean, if you ask so many people within the report, so what is coming out from there?
Maybe Cathrin, you can answer it from your role, and then I can add with my expectations
regarding
the role.
Now it becomes personal. No, translating the trend into kind of our daily life maybe makes it tangible. So I think leaders are super important to give that stability, I would say, in times of uncertainty. Leaders themselves are humans, and leaders themselves need to remain humans. It's not just about managing capacity like it was also in the past, but it's about giving direction and it's about giving guidance. I'm not convinced that every leader can jump into the head of every employee and understand everything. But every leader should be able to ask the right questions and to act as a coach in that regard to navigate the people throughout that. It's not about taking decisions for the employees, but about coaching employees to take the right decisions in that regard, and to set priorities in conflicting times. And I think that's why the role of the leader is so important, because there are so many priorities that you can follow. And that's where the leaders are important to set the focus at this moment. And also to role model navigating through those challenges.
Yeah, I totally agree. So focus more on coaching, trust building, I would say, and really unlocking human performance rather than managing just tasks, and create a psychological safety, a space where learning and honest feedback are encouraged. And I think this is key to support personal growth and development and not just project delivery. And also, I would like to emphasize the fact, really, as a manager, to help to navigate complexity. I think this is really critical for managers in their new role, I would say, to move from oversight and control to more to enablement and give strategic guidance, and also play a critical role as managers in connecting the teams, right? Fostering collaboration across boundaries and aligning work with purpose. So the purpose, again, also here is, I think, important for the managers to enable their teams to really focus on purpose and meaningful work.
How do you see? I mean, for me, when I'm looking back on my 40 years career, I think I met a bunch of good managers in my career, really good managers. But honestly, if I let it run through my head now, I only met a few good leaders. For me, I really distinguish between leaders and managers. What's your take on that? Because for me, it makes a big difference. I mean, you can put a manager in his role by just putting his name into an org chart. I think leaders are nominated and voted by the teams. I mean, the team is deciding whom they want to follow, and managers could be probably put in an org chart, and if the name is in the right box, he or she's a manager. How do you see that? Is there some kind of results coming out of your study as well? Do employees differentiate between these two?
So I think there's a differentiation in the tasks and also the priorities, and you see that in the difference in how alive or how some people live the role of a manager or a leader. If you turn it just for a moment into German language, Führungskraft is Führungskraft. So I think there is a task on managing things and there is a task on leading people. You still have to manage tasks and you still have to give priorities, but you have to lead as well the way on where people need to go, especially in times of AI. You as a leader, but also as a manager, you have to role model that you use this artificial intelligence to also get a little bit rid of the slack work, which Birte just mentioned, or to speed up some research which would have taken 3 days before. Now you can get the results within 5 minutes, just as a random example. And I think that's where managers and leaders have to support it. I think the ones that are rather managing the priorities and the tasks itself, they are important to also role model that, but you still need the people that are leading in the right direction. And there is an interaction between both of them. And what we see in the trends as well is that that nearly 40% of managers' time is done on short-term task execution, so to say. And this is where I would say the paradox is, because we need in those times of uncertainty the people that give the vision and lead on the long run. And I think that's where we see why we see that this trend is so important, to refocus also the manager's time on really leading and not just kind of answering short notice requests.
Some additional things from your Birte?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize, especially in uncertain direction, right? It's important as leaders to give the direction somehow with purpose, because following a leader with a clear vision is easier in an ongoing change and those rapid changes we are in and during transformation. So having this person who has a vision, who has a mission, it's easier for me as an employee to follow and feel, and there we are again, to feel stable, feel stability in uncertainty.
Another thing which I really monitor and watch since years, I mean, especially in Europe, and we had a short discussion in the preparation of the podcast in the very beginning, before we went live and online, is how good are we, especially probably in Europe, with accepting failures and errors? Because I mean, for me, if we want to be agile, I mean, being agile without making errors and faults and getting things wrong doesn't work. I have never met it, honestly. It's really trial and error. It's really trying things out and learn from what didn't work and learn from what worked. How good are we there? And does that mean for managing people or leading people that we have to accept this kind of, we have to establish a failure culture on one hand, and we that probably, I met some organization that was working for big corporates for many years, and I sometimes got the impression that managing also means having control. And I think, honestly, I think this for me, this is really gone, because you don't have control over things. I mean, you can trust and believe in people, and if you have the right vision and the right direction, and then you move along this way with all what happens along this way, because things happen, and you can't always influence it, and you have to live with learnings and results. How do you see that? Because I mean, I think my personal opinion is we are not really good with failure culture in Europe.
This is my feeling as well, actually, and but definitely need to be better in that, because for now, in the next 3 to 5 years, we have jobs we don't even know we're having them, right? And there are so many new roles, and we need to get our employees trained and develop to be able to fulfill those roles in the future. And we can only achieve that by constantly adapt to those changes. And of course, this is where the error lies, and where you have learnings, and you need to learn from them, and to be better and better. And if we do not have the learning culture, we will not be able to accompany the shift, I would say, and learn from each other. Needs to be a trusted environment, so an open-minded culture, that we try to say, okay, we made an error, but I share that openly with you so that you can learn from each other. I think this is really the basis for evolving to those change together.
Cathrin?
I would add two perspectives on it, or maybe it becomes three. So I think the first one is that, from my point of view, we should really acknowledge that a lot of wealth that we have in Europe is coming from especially the quality, where not that many failures are in. Maybe in the learning process, but overall the quality which comes from most of the European countries or companies is quite high, and really that's something we can be proud of. And I would also differentiate between a failure and a continuous development. I think it's something where it's not necessarily a failure when you can improve it. And yes, there are failures which we are doing, but we have to also be careful on where are we doing which failures. And when we're talking about a development process, for example. I think that's something where we can look into other cultures where it's more usual to say like an 80% version is something which I can show transparently and where I do not have to hide that things are open, which I need to add. Is that a failure? Not sure, to be honest. And I think that's something where we need to have an open discussion about, is it a continuous improvement where I'm showing in between results with a development behind that, or is it really a failure not having finished it? And in some of the products, I think to finish it with a high quality and to reduce failures might be a good ambition. So, for example, in airplanes or something like that, I would appreciate not having too many failures in my airplane, or in payroll to pay it out wrongly every month. So I think we have to think about it in tasks and where is it worth to have this continuous development and where do we have to land on time or at the point which we need it. And that's also coming back to your questions on leaders and managers. Something which is more and more challenging also for leaders and managers to oversee where I need to really be at this point where now it counts. Now I'm taking the responsibility, I'm double checking it, I'm making sure that there is no failure in there, and where you leave room to develop all of those aspects. And I think to find those shades, a lot of companies are working on it. I think 83% of our respondents said they are working on the role of the manager, but only 7 said like that they really achieved it. And that's a discussion which is broadly in many organizations to think about where and what is the behavior we need. I think it isn't, and also on your question, the world isn't black and white anymore. We have to always find the gray line between to answer this.
Do you think we have lost our curiosity sometimes? I mean, when we were kids, we all were extremely curious. We were really running around and we wanted to explore the world. Are we in a kind of probably in Europe more than in other areas? I'm not bashing Europe, honestly. I'm a really proud European, but sometimes I have the impression that we have reached a level of saturation. We are really proud of our stability. We are proud of the product qualities, but sometimes I have the impression that we oversee upcoming trends and we a kind of, let's call it laziness, or probably we've lost our curiosity. How do you see that? Do you see that? Or do you miss it sometimes, that we are getting more curious again and love to try things out?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
Okay.
And I think the question is, who is we when you're asking that? If it's we, the three of us, I think we have to think
Definitely
about
No, not,
quite honestly.
probably not the three of us. No.
And I think if you are asking another three, most likely neither. But what we see is that there are various patents, so Patente in German, which are still coming from Europe. And I think you cannot have all of those if you're, and it's a big amount, or the biggest amount, which is even coming from Europe.
Yeah.
But I feel what you're saying. Like, are we on a way that we are losing this curiosity? And do we have maybe too many regulations that are kind of harming our curiosity? I'm not sure if I would say we lost it on a human level, because I know many people which are really interested. If you're having discussions with them, they're researching, they're applying AI. But the question is, do we have the environment to live this curiosity? Or do we always have to go for the process of patents and through a lot of controls to really bring it alive? And I think that's a question which we should ask ourselves in Europe on how we can foster this innovation again. And I think there are even in Germany, they are discussing on how to support startups even more and to simplify their life. And it's a lot about simplification that is required, which we are discussing also with so many clients, because it kind of, the complexity increased over years, and it's been kind of built from various angles, just more and more and more, but forgetting to delete the old rules. And that's basically where the challenge lays in from my point of view.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
And in the beginning, you mentioned the kids, right? Who seems to be more curious than the older ones, but it also starts in school, right? And creating those curiosity mindsets, I would say, not only focusing on the specific task, on the next exams, right? And not learning for the teachers, learning for you, and be curious is something which starts in school, actually, and then train it and don't lose it. It's key, I would say, for the jobs which evolves constantly. So we see that the jobs you learn and then you're ready with your education after bachelor's or master's, this will not be there in the future. So you need to be constantly learning and develop yourself, and the curiosity is the basis.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a good closing statement already, but I have one question left for both of you, because we already reached the end, and we could continue for probably a couple of hours, because it's a really inspiring discussion. But if Aladdin with the magic lamp would show up at you and it would give you one free wish, what would it be to reach stagility, or to get stagility out? What do you think is the one skill or the one thing you would wish from Aladdin with the magic lamp? Birte, probably you first. Let's do the alphabetical order again.
Yeah, so to really achieve stability, for me, it's really the wish on focus on employees as individuals and focus on the skills every employee brings to the organization. Do not focus only on the job description itself, on the task, but showing the network and creating the value of the whole team, and say, okay, what is the skills we bring to the table and how we can learn from them. And by making this visible, the skill sets we already have in the organization, right? This creates stability, I would say, stability and agility to be better in the future.
Really cool one. Thank you. Cathrin?
I think it goes in the same direction. It's, I would say, respect and fulfillment of humankind's potential. So to really acknowledge differences, to respect each other, and to have even maybe severe discussions like we have it now about those topics, with listening to each other, because the other opinions are fine as well. And together with different opinions, we can even maybe do something better. And to really use the potential and the skills of the people that are there, and to make sure that they are applied in the right way. Because every human has a potential. The question is it utilized in the right way, or is it utilized at the right place? And I think that's where we really have to come back to put the humans to the center of driving the value.
That was a perfect closing word. It was deeply coming out of my heart as well. So thank you very much for this really nice talk. Thank you very much for your time. And the audience, I hope you enjoy it as much as I did during the recording. So stay tuned for the next ones, and thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you for watching Cappuccino with HR. If you enjoy this kind of conversations, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Then you get all this kind of upfront information, your upcoming episodes, and all my nice guests. Cappuccino with HR is brought to you by We Are Developers, Europe's #1 developer community and a leading platform for connecting HR and companies together with developers. If you want to learn more, visit us on wearedevelopers.com. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time on Cappuccino with HR.